CNBC just posted this onto their Instagram page, which says that Americans earning $200,000 or more per year are flocking to these 5 states. Number 1, Florida. Number 2, Texas. Number 3, Arizona. Number 4, North Carolina. And number 5, South Carolina. That's when I started to dig a little bit deeper, which was when I found this Forbes article talking about the 5 places where the most people are moving out of. Where are those? California, New York, Illinois, Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts. From the research that I've done and from my own experiences, because over the last 14 or 15 months, I've spent at least a month in California, New York, and Illinois. I'm in Manhattan right now. I'm here for a month and a half. And I've also spent a decent amount of time in Florida, Texas, and Arizona, all in the last year and a half. So from my own personal experiences and the research that I've been doing, there are 3 main reasons why people are moving from here to here. Number 1, weather. Number 2, crime. And number 3, of course, taxes. States like California and New York and Illinois, like Chicago, are known for your high state taxes versus states like Florida and Texas and Arizona are known for their low state or no state taxes. So if you're making a lot of money and you can work from home or you can work from wherever you want, you can work remotely, well, then you would lose more money by living here as opposed to living here. Let me show you. Let's compare what happens with your income if you live in San Francisco versus Miami, because $50,000 in San Francisco is different than $50,000 in Miami, and it's not how much money you make that matters, it's how much money you get to keep. Now, just so you know, San Francisco is in California where the top state tax, income tax, is 12.3%. So if you're filing your taxes as a single person, you're gonna pay 12.3% in taxes on all income above around $625,000 a year. And then they also add a 1% tax on all income over $1 million a year for mental health stuff. Second, in Miami, there is 0 state taxes in Miami because Florida does not charge any state taxes. So if you make $50,000 a year in California, you're gonna walk away net about $40,000 versus in Miami, you're gonna net around $42,000. So not a huge difference here. And the reason why, again, is because these state taxes are marginal, meaning you're gonna pay smaller state taxes for smaller incomes. So not a big difference if you're making $50,000 a year. If now you make $250,000 a year, well, in San Francisco, that means you're gonna be left with $160,000 after federal taxes and your state taxes, versus in Miami, you'll be left with $180,000. Now you start to see a little bit of a difference. You get an extra $20,000 in your pocket, in your bank account for earning the same salary just because you don't gotta pay the state taxes. If you are a super high earner and you're making $2.5 million a year, well now if you live in San Francisco, you're gonna net $1.25 million, actually just a little bit under that, versus in Miami, you're going to net $1.55 million. So now we're talking about $300,000 extra just based on where you live, not based off of how much you earn. The more money you earn, the more that these state taxes start to matter. And now in this environment where many people have more flexibility to be able to work remotely or from different places, it has become more financially interesting and more financially attractive for people to move to places based off of state taxes, because now you can earn the same salary or a very similar salary, especially if you're just working remotely, while now working from somewhere else where you don't have to pay the same state taxes. This is one of the reasons why you saw so many crypto millionaires, especially when the crypto boom was happening, want to leave the United States, go to a crypto safe haven, whether it's Puerto Rico, whether it's another country, that way now they can pay no taxes on their cryptocurrency and keep all the profits. Now, of course, many of those crypto millionaires have seen a big loss over the last 12, 14 months. And kind of a funny story, as somebody who knows one of these crypto millionaires who got into Bitcoin early, and then when crypto hit like $60,000 a coin, he decided to leave America for the tax benefits, and now the crypto has fallen so hard, he's trying to come back to America. So this is where understanding, yeah, there's a lot of benefits to being in America, especially if you're already in America, but knowing how taxes do affect the decisions that you make. Now, focusing on the crypto side, if you are investing in crypto, I want to give you the disclaimer again, make sure you're using a good exchange and make sure you take your crypto off of an exchange, because yes, we are going to see volatile times for the next 12 to 18 months. And if you're looking for a good exchange that you can potentially use, you can check out our sponsor FTX US. I like FTX US because one, their fees are super low, so more of your money can actually buy you crypto instead of just making your brokerage richer. Second, FTX US makes it super simple for you to dollar cost average buy your cryptocurrencies. Like I buy Bitcoin and Ethereum every single day. You just gotta push a few buttons and then you can pick the frequency. Once a month, once a week, once a day. You can pick how often you want to buy a cryptocurrency. And third, FTX US has expanded. So now not only can you trade cryptos and NFTs, but you can also trade stocks right off of their platform. And the nice thing is that because you're a Minority Mindset fan, FTX US is also giving you some free cryptocurrency after you trade $100 on their app. All you have to do is use my link down in the description below and then enter in the referral code minority, and then they will give you some free crypto. So if you want to learn more, I got the link to how you can do it down in the description below. Second, people have been leaving some areas because of crime. So when I lived in California, I lived in San Diego and I lived there for just over 2 months. And when I moved there, I found out that California has this very interesting rule where people can steal up to $950 worth of stuff and it is not a felony. Essentially, this is from me talking to a cop in California because I couldn't understand how this worked. I had to have the cop explain it to me. The cop told me that if somebody goes into a store and they buy $900 worth of stuff, not buy it, they pick up $900 worth of stuff and they walk out, the cop cannot use force to stop the person. They will let them go. And many times, cops will not use any force unless it's over multiple thousands of dollars worth of stuff, because then it's not worth prosecuting them. And this is something that not only applies to stores, but also carjackings. Because California, apparently, you're allowed to jack into cars, and a cop, this is a cop telling me this, a cop cannot use force to stop you from breaking into a car and stealing things. Instead, the cop has to ask you to stop. They can try to arrest you, but if you try to run away, they can't chase you. They're not allowed to use force to bring you into the center, and if they bring you in, well, most of the times you're just gonna be let go. So because of these types of things in certain areas, it has caused some people to not want to be there. Like when I was in San Diego, I had met a few people. These were people who were making decent salaries, who were already thinking about leaving California because of the higher taxes, but then because of the crime that they've been seeing, they wanted to get out of the city, and they were debating whether they wanted to stay in California or move to somewhere like Arizona, where they could pay a whole lot less money in taxes. And third, you have the weather, because it turns out people like to be in sunny, beachy areas more than they like the cold, rainy areas. Now, I gotta give this to California because San Diego has some of the most beautiful nature, some of the most beautiful weather that I have ever really experienced, because it was always sunny, it was always nice weather, and it never really rained. So California and San Diego, SoCal especially, has that perk where people like the weather there, and that keeps a lot of people there. Now, some people have been moving from cold places to go to somewhere like Florida or Texas or Arizona because it's much warmer, you get a lot more sun, and so people make their moving decisions now based off of weather, crime, and of course, taxes. And the more money you make, the more that these taxes matter. But this brings me to the topic of what does this mean for the future of businesses and states? I'm very fortunate that now, because of work and my business, I get to travel and live in different places. Like I love Manhattan, I loved San Diego, I loved Chicago, I love living in these different places, and I get to meet all these different people. But this is where now businesses are trying to play this game and figure out, what do they want to do? Are they, one, going to require people to come back into the office? If yes, do they want people to come into the office in Chicago or New York or California, or do they want people to come into the office in Florida or Texas where they can save money on taxes? Where are the smart people going to be? And if they don't need people to come into the office, then should they pay you less if you live somewhere else? And this is a big game that businesses are trying to figure out right now. From a business trying to optimize its finances perspective, it makes sense financially for you to move your business from a high tax state to a low tax state, especially if you're making millions of dollars a year, because now you can save hundreds of thousands of dollars a year just by moving to a lower tax state. But if you have a lot of employees, well, people like to be in New York still. Yes, it's expensive. It's very expensive, and it's growing in price, but people still love Manhattan. I mean, walking around Manhattan, you can see and feel the energy where people love being here. Same with Chicago, same with California. In some places, people enjoy being there, But this is where now it's a balance where businesses have to figure out how badly do they want people in the office and how often are they going to have to come into the office. And now based off of that, what is the best recommendation for them? Because you do have some businesses that have left the high tax states going to low tax states. That way they can save money on their profits. They can save money on taxes. And that's not good news for states. Because now if you are a state that charges super high taxes and you have some of the wealthiest people, some of the wealthiest businesses leaving, well, that's a huge chunk of your tax revenue. Yeah, you charge super high taxes, but the pool of tax dollars out there keeps shrinking because people are moving out of New York. People are moving out of California. People are moving out of Illinois. And so if you want to maintain and keep the businesses, this is where states are also going to have to decide, what do we want to do? Do we want to cut our taxes and attract more businesses? Do we want to raise taxes to squeeze more dollars out of the pennies that we have? And this is where now it's going to be a balancing act between businesses and states, because this is a unique dilemma that didn't really exist 20 years ago. Sure, businesses could leave and go to a lower tax state, but you didn't have the same work from home ability, which has changed the game until now. And now that people have the ability to work from home, some businesses are saying, well, if we can maintain our productivity, or even if productivity goes down by 7%, but we can save 12% in taxes, well, we're still profitable by moving to a lower tax state. And this is the balancing act that businesses and states are playing, and we're going to see this play out over the next number of years. I mean, this doesn't happen overnight, but over the next number of years, where you will probably see more businesses leave the higher tax states because they want to save money on profits. And if those businesses are able to maintain and grow their production and their performance, then more businesses may follow. And then that could lead to a reform in how some states tax their businesses and people. Either they're going to tax even more in order to get more dollars to fund their operations, or they're going to say, we're going to tax less to attract more businesses to come back. Because just from a business perspective, it's unattractive to say, come here, we're going to tax you a whole lot of money, but we want you here. As opposed to, come here, we're going to tax you nothing, but come here, that way we can attract you and we'll do anything you need, we'll give you whatever you want. That way you can come and hire people here and bring jobs here. So this is the game that we're going to see over the next decade, and it's going to be interesting to watch.
That thing that I'm going to buy with this $1 million is going to pay off a mortgage and put an extra 100 grand in my pocket. That's one way to use a bank. The other way to use a bank is I'm going to borrow $100,000 from the bank to buy a car that I can't afford. And then I'm going to pay interest on this car